World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here. Here we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here. My name is Matt McCoy. You guys know who I am. I am here for another special edition of the Mayor's Forum. This is a show when I get to talk to people, have some fun, and be a fool. You guys join in, tell a friend, bring a friend, tune on in, sign on up, ask questions. We got a very exciting show. Most of you know that Soul City is partnered with Ebony. Ebony is coming back, and they have a new media project that they're working on, and we're working on it with them, and we'll be a part of it to help kick them off. And we're very proud to celebrate Ebony and what they're doing. Ebony was probably one of the biggest Black media things that we had. You know, Ebony Magazine, I think everybody had Ebony Magazine in their house. Your grandparents, your parents, and some of you growing up had an Ebony Magazine in the house. So we are happy and proud to be part of that family. And we're going to have some fun. And I got two special guests who are going to come on, special report. And we're celebrating Women's History Month as well. We just came out of Black History Month and went to Women's History Month. So I'm going to get into my guests who are very outstanding and beautiful young ladies who were part of the Ebony Fashion Fair. We're going to talk fashion and the fashion industry and modeling and all those things. So I'm not going to stall any longer and hold it up any longer. I'm going to bring to the stage Miss Shailah Edmonds and Miss Patricia Tracy. Ladies, how are you?
Hello, good evening.
Fine, thank you.
There you go. Thank you for joining me today and for coming on. And you ladies were models at one point with Ebony Fashion Fair.
Actually, we weren't. Wasn't with the Ebony Fashion Fair. My pictures were featured in the Ebony magazine.
Gotcha. Okay.
Same here.
The actual fashion fair. Yeah.
So you guys were I'm sorry. So you guys were models, and your pictures were featured in Ebony magazine.
Correct.
Probably even bigger than being Ebony Fashion Fair. That means you're somebody. You were somebody at the time, and you guys were doing something. So let's get into your career. And let's talk about the modeling industry. And, you know, those of you who know me, I'm going to try to get all the dirt I can out of what goes on behind the scenes that we don't see. We see the beautiful pictures and we see the fashion shows and the garments.
A lot going on.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I've had my opportunity to do some small fashion shows. And, of course, being with Leonard Davis, as Shailah knows, you know, he's my fashion guru, and I've done a lot of shows with him and been a lot of shows with him. And I've seen some stuff behind the scenes, and I hear the story. So, Shailah, let's start with you. Tell us about yourself, your career, what you've done, and let's go from there.
Okay, first of all, I'm glad to see Ebony coming back because Ebony was like the staple of every Black American household. And as a model, I don't think I was really accepted as serious until they saw my picture in Ebony magazine. And that made you national. You know, that was national instant fame. So I take my hat off. Even my own family didn't accept my work as a model until they officially saw me in Ebony. And, you know, that's when they could take it to all their friends. And, you know, I was a big hit. So I'm so glad to see Ebony coming back. And I did go to the Ebony Fashion Fair shows a couple of times, and they were just so amazing. I hope they do something to bring something similar to that back again, because, you know, the fashion industry needs a little excitement, because what goes on the runway now is just walking. You know, everybody's just a walking coat hanger, and there's really not really any so much excitement going on the runway. They're just there to sell the garment, see the garment, and get off the stage, and it's over. So anyway, I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, and I started modeling. I tried to get started in New York, but I was rejected because it was the height of discrimination, and I was turned down by every agent here. And I just got really small shows. So I was offered this ticket to Germany by this photographer, and I just picked up by myself, not knowing the language, not knowing where I was going. And I went to Germany and did a little work in Germany after a rough start, and got a little bored in Germany. Then I went to Italy and got some really great photographs done, but got a little bored in Italy too. So, so I went to Paris, and this is all by the suggestions of other models that I was working with. They said, come to Italy, come to Paris. So I went to Paris, and that was where I just knew, just from the smell of the croissants and the fashions in the window, that was the place I wanted to be. Okay. So again, I had a rough start, but I ended up staying there and doing 2 shows. And then I had a few shows and some tear sheets from pictures from Italy, and really great pictures. So I went back to New York thinking now they're going to accept me because I have international work. So I took a trip back to New York and showed all the work that I had, and still was rejected. Said, no, black girls, these pictures are European, and there's nothing that American can do with these pictures. They're not for us. And there was the door in my face again. So I went back to Paris on a mission. I said, I'm going to make these people believe me if it's the last thing I do. So went back to Paris, and it was just at the right time. And I got a wonderful agent and started doing all the shows, every.
Shailah, who was your first agent in Paris?
My first agent was Guy Heron.
Oh, Guy Heron. Okay.
Yeah, from Cosa Nostra. Yes.
Guy Heron.
He's a wonderful guy. We're still in touch on Facebook. Just really? A wonderful guy. Yeah. And and it's all culminated. I've since written a book about it. It's in my book. You'll see in the background. I don't know if you're going to mention that.
I highly recommend. You will laugh.
This is my book. I've written about all of my.
Your hair will stand up.
Yes. I tell you, it's really a book.
I love it.
I tell all the dirt in this book, and it's called Wild Child to Couture Style, and it's available on Amazon and through my website, ShailahEdmonds.com. So back to the industry here. I finally, after working in Paris for over a year, maybe 2 years, closer to 2 years, I came back to New York. This designer brought me back to New York. And I just said, I wasn't even going to try to see agents or try to get work in New York anymore. But I said, let me just try an agent and see what they say. And she says, well, where have you been all this time? We see you in all the European magazines. Why haven't you ever been to New York? I tell you, so I just brushed it off and smiled. And before I knew it, I was working for all the top designers in New York as well. So that's my story and, how I started. And I'll go on from there, but I want to give Pat and Patricia.
Yeah, I'm about to say, we're going to get more out of you in a minute. But yes. Let's go on to Pat.
Yeah, but you see, Shailah is so fascinating. And this is just how her book is. I'm telling you, I couldn't put it down. Seriously.
Yes,
so we can listen to Shailah all the time. Anyway, so how I started, pretty much the same thing. America wasn't receptive to Black models at all. So out of the blue, I met a German photographer in New York, and he said, you should try Paris. A friend of his was opening an agency there, Marilyn Gauthier, and she said, come. So I went. And I hit the ground running. I was really very fortunate. I hit the ground more like stumbling because I didn't know what I was doing. And that is the truth. And that was a nightmare part of the scenario. Anyway, one foot in front of the other, little by little, I figured it out. Things went well quickly for me in Paris, but I discovered print work in Germany. And I liked that. because the shows and so on were fun and good for me in Paris, and it's sort of a rite of passage. You must do it. And but however, Germany was very organized. I'm a very organized person. I like 9 o'clock to be 9 o'clock. I like to be finished at 5. Or if I'm finished at 6, I'm going to finish at 6. I like to know that it's 6. I don't want Patrizia, ciao, bella, come, così, a glass of wine. No, I can't. I don't mind, but day after day, no, thank you. Yeah. So I like the organization. So I started doing print work in Germany, and that worked really well for me. Got my book together. Pretty much this is what all the Black models did. Came back to New York and got an agency here. And that's when I started working for Ebony, because here I was in New York now with some pictures and so on. And now I was accepted in New York. Not big jobs, not a lot of fabulous stuff right away by any means, but being picked up by Ebony and doing the fashion shoots in their magazine really made me legit. It gave us a stamp of approval. So there I was now, not doing the Ebony Fashion Fair, but fashion shots in the Ebony magazine. So that elevated me. That put me on sort of a firmer footing in the business. And I did the back and forth between Europe and New York for a while. I love to travel. That's my whole thing. So I went to Japan, Australia. I was all over the place. England, anywhere, have model, will travel. You got an idea, got a booking, got some clothes to wear, no problem. I'll show up. So that was what I did, all over the world, bouncing around. And in the end, ended up more in New York, where I am now. And that was the 80s and 90s. In the 90s, or the late 90s, I started to be too young to be old and too old to be young. This is not a good spot to be for a model. Exactly. So I sort of aged out of I was never really an ingenue, truth be told, but I aged out of that youthful part of the business, but I hadn't crossed over into the mature part of the business yet. So I took off for about 7 years and on a shoestring, continued to travel around the world, did a lot of trips to Africa and so on. That ate up a lot of time. And then, lo and behold, I had aged enough. And so I got in touch. I was on Facebook, and one of my old agents saw me and said, "Miss Pat, what are you doing? Come in and pay us a visit." And I went in. I had my little gray hair starting to come in. I was feeling good, nice and suntan from the African sun. Nothing too much to worry about. And she said, "If you want to come back, we'd love to have you." And I said, "I'm jumping in with both feet." And that's how come I'm still in the business now. And this is a whole other aspect. This is a mature model that's now being recognized and appreciated. And a lot of the time when I go to work now, I'm not necessarily the auntie, although God knows I've done it. I'm not necessarily the auntie or the mother or the grandmother. I'm just another woman wearing that makeup or wearing those clothes or just in the mix. And I love that new approach to aging and the acceptance of women of all ages and all types now. And of course, the business is so much more diverse. So it's really refreshing. And that's me in a nutshell. And how come I'm here today?
Great. Well, back to the part where you age out of the business. It's that's something that every model should be aware of. And
absolutely.
Because when I was young, and as she said, we were flying all over the place, and everything was moving so fast. All the shows from one country to the next, and we just thought this was going to go on forever. You never think it's going to end, and just in a blink of an eye, the phone stops ringing.
That's right.
And you wonder why, and it's devastating. So you have to always have a plan B, or just.
I was about to say, you better have plan B.
Yes, have it. Know when to take yourself to the next level. And what I did, I started teaching modeling. I produced an instructional video, and I went to every modeling school, every modeling agency all over the United States, and did seminars and taught models how to walk on the runway, and became a scout for some of the agencies in New York as well. So that lasted for a little while until, again, the industry is constantly changing.
It's fickle.
Yes. Oh God. So after a while, you didn't have to walk anymore. They didn't want any turns or any kind of stance on the runway.
The automatron.
Yes. All all you had to do was put one foot in front of the other, and there went my modeling career, my model coaching business.
Right.
So, yeah, it's really devastating. It's a lot of rejection. You're constantly rejected by designers and
Hide of a rhino.
Yes, yes, you have to have a
Better be
strong,
tough.
strong skin.
Okay. Let me ask you guys. Take me back to the moment you wanted to be a model. Take me back to that moment and what it was like for you from that moment to getting to, because again, you guys had to go overseas. You couldn't even start here. You had to go overseas.
Yes, absolutely.
So, what was that journey like? That period? What were you going through? What were you thinking of? Hey, I want to be a model. I know I could be a model. I'm tall enough. I'm pretty enough. What's the problem? Why would I have to go overseas? Why do you think that you even had to go overseas at that point?
Welcome to America. I mean,
I tell you, well, I personally never wanted to be a model. I was, I was kind of settled. I had a late start in modeling, and
same here.
I was walking down the street, and this lady suggested that you should model, because I had a huge afro at the time, and I was wearing like 6-inch platforms, so I was like 7'2". And she saw me walking down the street. She said, and I was balancing and really walking well. She said, the way you're walking, you should be a model. So she sent me to New York for a model competition, and I won the competition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was approached by this agent at the competition who says, if you move to New York, I'm going to make you a star. I can tell you all you need to know, and send you on your way and get you started. So I put everything in a U-Haul truck and drove up to New York, and went to look up that agency. And when I went into her office, she told me that she didn't remember me, and she had her quota of Black models, and there was nothing she could do for me. So you have to read the book to see what happened after
exactly.
that.
All right. Yes, get the book.
Very good segue.
It was not pretty.
As it is, I'm sitting here with my mouth open, like, yes, and then what happened?
I know.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Yeah, it was not pretty at all. But there I was, stuck in New York with nowhere to go, and I just kept seeing agents and kept getting rejected. But I kept taking pictures and persevering and just building up my portfolio. And and one of the photographers that I was testing with was the one who gave me the ticket to Germany.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he said, "You're such a beautiful girl. You should be working." He said, "Just get out of here." And I said, "How am I going to get out of here? I have no way to, Europe. It was like foreign to me." So he just says, "Take the ticket and go." And I just at that point, I had nothing to lose, because I was tired of the rejection. I was in Bloomingdale's spraying perfume. I was working as a secretary and, seeing agents and taking pictures. I mean, I was just running myself ragged, trying to make a name for myself, and nothing was happening. So
I remember when I first got to Paris, I was amazed by all the Black models that were there. I was thrilled.
Yes,
it was like this sisterhood. Like, wait a second, is this where you guys are? Okay.
You thought you was in Harlem at that point.
Right?
Yeah.
I got there before the surge was there. My first trip there was before the surge. It was maybe like 5-10 models. There was some in the Givenchy cabine, but it wasn't that many. Then when I came back to New York and tried to come back and work here, and didn't, and went back to Paris, I looked around and it was saturated.
A lot of models.
But it was
great. We slept on each other's floors. We ate fried chicken. We did hair in the kitchen. Remember?
Yes, we shared ghosties. We shared clients.
It was great.
Information. There was no animosity, no jealousy. None. Everybody was
a little bit, but no, it was great.
We always have that, but for the most part, we were all so happy to have a chance. And everybody was getting their share. I don't care who you were. Everybody had 1 or 2 shows, and it was a great time. A time
everybody was working.
Yes, never see that time in Paris, in Europe again. I don't think. I
maybe not.
Yeah, but it was a time, and it really should be. It should be documented somehow, because it was a great time.
That's interesting. Did any of the ladies who were there in Europe when you guys got there, you talk about when you got there, and particularly you, Patricia, there was so many other Black women there, and you just felt like, wow, like I'm saying, you guys probably thought you was on 125th Street in Harlem at that point. So
it was great.
And so at that moment, though, you still had to leave, New York. You still had to leave America to go there. But at least when you got there, there were other women, of like you, and you all, but I guess it wasn't. You said it was a sisterhood, so you weren't really competing against each other. You were
Not
helping
really,
each
no.
other to survive.
Right.
I mean, there was a little, you know, it's
There was
natural. It's a
underlying
competitive
competition. Yeah.
business.
Okay, here we go. Now the date's gonna come out. Here we go.
Right. I mean,
No, it's a
we're all
competitive
trying for the
business,
same
but-
thing, and when I at castings, I would watch the girl walk, and I'm like, we were eyeing each other, but
Yeah, but
not to the point where there was.
it wasn't every day that someone took your shoes. But,
exactly.
But from time to time,
Every once in a while, see, your shoes got stolen, huh? Somebody may take
or
your shoes.
switched
You can't
around or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
things happened,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
not too much.
Okay. But that's interesting. I mean, because I think in all art forms, and I consider modeling an art form, because you have to figure out how to behave in front of a camera, how to act in front of a camera without using words, and what have you. So still an art form. So when you guys get there and you're honing your craft, and you have to leave America to go there to hone your craft and to be seen, and then you become successful, and then you're welcome back home. You finally get to come back home, and they welcome you. And I assume, because I think Shailah said the arms weren't fully wide open when you came back home.
Oh,
But you earned your stripes, let's say, while you were in Europe.
Yeah.
So then when you got back to America, how did that change become for you? Now you're home. Now you're back around everybody again. How did that change take place?
For me, I mean, Europe was kind of the school of hard knocks, as Shailah was saying. So, we graduated and we were not playing. At least I wasn't playing. So I came back and I figured, well, this is it. I'm getting an agency. I got one and I wanted to go to work. I ended up doing more print than shows. At that time, I guess I had what they wanted for that. And also, truth be told, the print money I felt was better than the show money.
Absolutely.
So I figured, listen, if I'm going to be out here slugging it out, I'm going to slug it out for as much as I can. So, what can I tell you? And so I concentrated on that aspect of it. But of course, we were not turning anything down. We were taking everything, but I was really pushing for the print as much as I could get. And so I became a catalog girl, which is a completely different side of the business. And so I did a lot of catalog and advertising. So it was sort of like, maybe this is not good to say, but it was sort of like the dumbing down a little bit. You couldn't forget about having this hair and all this type of thing. No. I got tamed. I got,
because it's
it's
about selling the clothes.
Commercial and very commercial.
Very commercial. And fortunately, I was able to pull it off. And it was also easier work, I felt, than the shows. So I liked it. And it was lucrative. And then the advertising was as well. So that's kind of where I ended up concentrating my efforts more.
And I was just the opposite. I'm a showgirl. I love twirling and wearing the
I'm
clothes.
mellow.
I did some print as well, but my thing was the shows. And wherever there was a show, I was there. I mean, it was really wherever I heard or could fit myself in to do a show. It was the utmost for me. I love print but I don't consider myself. I mean, I guess I was photogenic at the time and I did some, but a print model has to have certain characteristics. Her chin has to be a certain length, the nose has to be.
I was just lucky that I fit the mold. And I ran with it.
And I didn't think I was totally strong enough in the print arena. So, and I love music. I love the runway. I just,
But can I tell you, I was always so impressed by the real runway girls like Shailah and Billy Blair and these types of models. I was in awe. I knew, listen, I'm a woman that knows my limitations and I don't have too many problems with them. So I just loved seeing those women on the runway. They were stars. They were just shining. It was fantastic. And I was there, hanging in with them, doing my little thing and so on.
Oh yeah, you were right.
I was there with them, but I kind of opted for a different route.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. And at that time period, because you guys were, because Shailah, you were a little bit ahead of Patricia.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah,
model. Yeah. So, and I'm going to assume you were classified as black models.
Yes. Well, but that's one thing I want to point out. In Europe, we were not called black models. We were called American models.
American models. It's true. Until the African girls started coming in, and then there were the African girls.
African girls. Exactly.
It was not black.
That's one thing about Europe. You never felt that direct discrimination.
No, you didn't.
Not at all. Even if at some point they said they weren't taking American girls or black girls, sometimes they did use black girls, but not.
It was just like, okay, those the colors that they were showing this season. Exactly. They prefer that look or the other.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You didn't feel bad about it.
Felt that direct discrimination.
No, you didn't.
It made you so comfortable. Made it so easy to
because
work.
They made so much of you. Whenever we were out and about, they just you were treated so well.
We never had to want to eat or do anything. And you know why? Because the black girls brought something that they had never seen. We were brought up in the church.
A lot of pizzazz.
When we put on something, we knew how to feel it in our bones.
That's right.
We knew how to show out, as we say, as the black folks say. And we showed out on that stage, and they had never, because the French and European people are very, they're very strict. Yes. That we came there and broke loose, and they just raved. They
couldn't believe it.
Yes, so we were booked in every show possible. It was just amazing.
Just going out and about, the way you were treated, the way you were regarded. If you walked into a restaurant or just down the street or into a store, everyone was in awe of you.
Oh, I tell you, bonjour,
it was wonderful.
We were all greeted with prestige and very honorable. I mean, it was just it was great. It was just the way they were treated.
Okay, so you guys had a preference of. So you figure we talked about there was the runway model, there was the print model, there was a catalog model, and I guess the advertising or commercial model. Were they doing commercials at that time for television? With at that time they're doing TV commercials with models a lot.
There was some,
but not that many black.
But not that many. It was the business was more divided in those days. Now it's sort of a free for all. It's much more open. Everybody's doing everything. But then don't you find, Shailah, then it was more sort of compartmentalized a bit?
Exactly, absolutely. But when I started, there was a definite separation. There were models and there were show models.
Definitely.
The models were white girls because they would appear in all the Midwest magazines and people would
But for us,
but then the black girls did the shows in the showroom because we weren't seen that much and we were more live. And, you do the show is one day and you're out. But so it was maybe in the mid 80s, late 80s that they started crossing over and letting the showgirls mix. But before it was a definite separation.
Definitely, yeah. So I was fortunate in that I could do some of the crossover, but it was a much more difficult crossover than it is today. Today you see girls doing everything, not so with us.
Totally, yes.
It was.
So, all right, now we had a nice little 30-minute conversation about your careers and all the good stuff. Tell me about the men. Tell me about the men that you encountered and how were you treated by the men in both areas, Europe and in America, and how are models treated by men? And we can start with the designers themselves. A lot of designers are men, but just the men who would come to the shows, the men who would see you in the streets and at the restaurants. How were you treated? Tell me some really good stories.
Okay, who's going first on this one?
I'll start.
Who dares?
All right. Well, I'll start from the countries that I started in because I was, pretty stable before I went to Europe. When I went to Germany, the German men were very friendly. They weren't overly aggressive like the other countries.
Right.
They were nice and gentlemanlike. They would take you out to dinner. They treated you with so much respect. It was all fun, and it was dancing, the club life, and it was just really, really lots of fun. But when you go to Italy, you have Playboys. I mean, those
Rough
they
stuff.
were, oh my God, it was all about sex and drugs and
Rock
they
and roll.
pick you up after the show and
Too much.
take you out and take you shopping or do whatever in the big fancy cars. And you couldn't walk down an Italian street. Well, I know every model that walked down an Italian street
You couldn't dare to accept an invitation in Italy.
I tell you, they got tapped on the butt. They would tap you on the butt when you walk down the street. I mean, very aggressive, very. Oh yeah, they were. Yeah, so
Italy was
the Italian man, and of course for me, they would you were a sex object, and then they would on to the next. There was never anything serious. But the French guys, I thought they were pretty respectful. I had a wonderful, rich boyfriend in Paris. And but they were almost afraid to approach you because they weren't used to Black models. They didn't know how far they could go and what they could do. But I felt very respected. I never felt that aggressiveness from men in Paris. They were
but the French have that savoir-faire, they have that charm.
That charm. I tell you, that accent is
they treat you well. They speak well. They're polite. They're very polite, and that goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But you have to be careful, and especially the photographers in this business. Back to Italy. I was in Italy one time, and I just thought I'd take a trip to Rome because I'd never been there. And I met a photographer, and he took me out to lunch and said he was doing a photo shoot in Milan, and to meet him in Milan the next day. So I go back to Milan and check into the hotel where he was, and we talk and set up the shooting and everything. And I wake up the next morning, and I call his room. I didn't get a wake up call or anything to see what the shooting was about, and I called his room, and he had checked out. So, it's a lot of scammers going, and, Italians are, even, the men in this business, you just have to be really, really
You have to be really wise.
Really, really careful.
As a friend of mine says, really careful.
Yes. Another story in my book, I don't know if you remember this one, when I took, again, I love to travel as well. And went to Switzerland and was just coming home for dinner. The season was over. I couldn't get any work. So I took myself to dinner, was coming home, and was approached by this man who I went out to dinner with the next night. And he ended up taking me to a wooded area. And, I had to run for my life. I mean, he took me over to a cliff and was going to push me over. I mean, that book, I tell you.
Where was that? In Italy?
In Switzerland.
In Switzerland. Oh, yes. I've never been to Switzerland.
Oh, really? It's beautiful, but you have to be careful, because they think everybody's desperate. They think a model is desperate for work, and that's how so many of them end up into prostitution and different places.
There are I don't know what became of them, but there were a couple of models in Italy, not Black models, a couple of Caucasian girls in Italy that ended up in prison. You remember that, Shailah?
Wow.
Yeah. Too much going on, and they tried to apparently rape one of them, and she took the gun and shot the guy.
Oh my!
He had a gun, and she was and they threw her in prison, and I guess threw away the key. I mean, I don't know what became of her. There was a lot of hardship because a lot of these girls, we too, were unexposed. We didn't know the rules of this serious game.
Absolutely. I had no idea.
You're thrown in, you're like a little goldfish in a pool of sharks.
Right.
And you're like, you don't know what's going on. And you gotta just sink or swim and learn to survive. And
totally.
Me, I just was pretty quiet. I would take myself out. I wasn't into the whole Playboy thing and going to. I never went to the chalet in Lugano and all that stuff. I was like, I'm from the Caribbean. I want to see something nice outdoors. I'll go swim at the beach in Antigua. Thank you very much. I'm good.
About 10 years ago, they really buckled down on that because it just was getting out of hand, and they require, and the models were getting younger, so they were requiring the parents.
And these girls are unexposed. They're coming from small towns all over the place. They know nothing. They're lovely. They're beautiful. They're young. They're innocent, and they want to live. They want to experience and explore. So they're easy targets,
And I think you heard about the Paris agent, who was with Jeffrey Epstein. He just committed suicide because he was one of the people that were exploiting these young girls, and it just happened.
Right. Oh
It
yeah, that
happened
was just
every
recently. When I saw that, I thought the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah. It happened in every agency and everywhere they could. They exploited, and I
They
just
did.
I was brought up in the church, and I'm so glad I always kept my spiritual edge to me, no matter how much I partied and went.
Yeah,
I was totally saved.
I'm glad I just have a terrible
Situation.
personality.
Oh man! So I mean, you guys. I mean, so the modeling industry, and I'm loving hearing you guys talk and tell these stories because I know a lot of women who wanted to be models and still trying to be models. But the modeling industry is as bad or worse, maybe even, but as bad as the other parts of the entertainment industry, whether it's music. I come from the music industry, and I understand, the girls who want to be music singers and, to get a gig and so on, all the advances you get, and you want to you got to sleep with this producer and that producer and so forth and so on. Actresses the same way. So if you guys, you come out, your whole thing is about beauty. There's nothing else about anything about you but it's your beauty first, and that's what men are really attracted to first. And okay, fine, and as models, they know that you're hungry, and they're
and you're away from home.
Yes,
away from home.
You don't speak the language. You're really at a disadvantage, and that's why I so loved the other Black models. I spent most of my time in Paris, so African girls and the Americans, they were great. I mean, those African girls were great to me too. Wonderful. I ate enough chicken yassa to last me a long time. So they were good.
Oh man, and that's a beautiful thing. So tell me about when you did find somebody that you liked and you thought it was a good relationship. How did it work for you?
Well, extremely well in my case. Who I ended up with was a photographer, and he loved to travel for work. So I always had sort of one foot in the business and one. I love to travel, as I said before. So that was wonderful for me. So all over the world for work with him. So I could have maybe done more and made a more of a mark in my career had I solely dedicated myself to that. But it's hard for me to say no to travel. I'd rather see the world. So
I tell you, and that's the same for me. I
wanderlust.
That I had a wonderful boyfriend in Paris, and he bought me furs and jewelry, and we traveled. I mean, he was just wonderful. But it got to a point where he wanted me to give up my career.
Yes.
They
did. Yes, me too. But I refused at that point.
I had sacrificed so much and I waited so long to make this name for myself. I said, he gave me an ultimatum, and he says, if it's your career or me. And I just, with all that I had and all the things that he had done for me, even got my teeth fixed. But I had to say no. I said no. I had to keep on with my career.
I agree. When I got that ultimatum, I ran away to Japan. Yeah, I was like, after one of the shows,
I would have never seen any of the world.
Oh, Japan was the greatest. I loved it.
I went to Japan, to Africa, to
I went to Japan. Places. And that took care of things.
Yeah, and if we had stayed with those men, we would have never done that. So now it's different because models have husbands and if you're young and starting out, save your relationships and your babies and your love affairs. You have to be it's a very lonely business. You have to travel. So many times I was traveling and I was so lonely. I wish I had somebody to see this beautiful sight with me, but
now it's sort of more accepted, or it's just the way the business has evolved. Exactly. Women have these models today. They have husbands and babies and regular lives. We never had that opportunity.
Absolutely.
And
old and done for if you had that. So you can.
Pardon me. What did you say, Shailah?
I'm sorry.
What did you say?
I just said we were considered old and done for if we had children or a husband.
I told you I got too old to be young. I know.
Right. Yes.
But now, Patricia, you're still in the modeling business.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, are you actually in front of the camera still modeling? Are you behind the scenes helping other models?
Oh, no,
well, more in front of the camera. I work as a photographer as well. That's something I picked up along the way, and I enjoy doing it and so on. But I still have a pretty good career going. I'm still with Wilhelmina, which is one of the top agencies in New York. So I'm okay. And but of course, COVID has put a little spoke in our wheels, but never mind. It'll soon be back. But yes, I'm still with a solid agency, and I'm still working. I still have a career in front of the camera. But how I've noticed that it's changed too, and I'd said earlier, is now everybody's in the mix. And a lot of the time when I go to work, I'm the only older model there, which is great. It's so refreshing. It's not like grannies do pajamas today. No. It's just everybody's there in the mix. And I really enjoy. I get a lot of energy from the young girls. I find them so refreshing. I adore them. I love working with them. I love telling them stories. I go, well, little grasshopper. I start to tell them about the good old days or the bad old days. And it's a lot of fun. So I've managed to come back. As I said, I was out of the business for a while. Come back into the, in front of the camera, into the solid modeling world. So.
And Shailah, you took to writing a book about your career.
Yes.
And, telling your story through your book.
Yes, and I've done book tours, and actually, it was featured in the New York Times after because I did a one-woman show. I produced a one-woman show. I sing.
Oh, your one-woman show is great. You don't know about that? That's
right.
Wait, we need to broadcast that one-woman show.
Wait, I gotta say one other thing. When Shailah sings, she's a wonderful jazz singer. And so she was singing at this place on Broadway. I told my mother, Mom, I am now a backup singer on Broadway. Albeit
I brought them up to sing background.
It was hilarious. But there we were. But Shailah's shows are great. It's so much fun. It's so refreshing.
Oh, thank you. But anyway, I did a one-woman show based on the book with musicians and dancers, and just put on a production. I had 2 sold-out shows. And then COVID hit. But at one of my shows, there was a editor from the New York Times in the audience, and he saw the show, and he interviewed me and wrote a full-page article on the cover of the Sunday Styles, June 14th in 2020.
Really?
And yes, and it was. And after that, I sold tons and tons of books after that, and I got a contract from Tyra Banks to make it into a TV series.
You did?
Yes.
When is that going to happen?
Wait a minute, it's not going to happen because COVID hit, and that was the height of COVID. 2020, COVID was just coming in strong. So she took the project to Disney because that was her home. She had just gotten with Disney. She left her other production company and just joined Disney, for Dancing with the Stars. So we had lots of Zoom meetings and things happening, blah, blah, blah. And Disney turned the project down because it's definitely not a Snow White story.
No.
So I didn't know why she even took it there. But anyway, after Disney turned it down, she pretty much just ignored it. That's
okay. Bigger and better.
Another email, never came back with it. But I've worked with another producer who's interested, but that didn't go through either because he wanted to change the whole story. I'm still going through it with them, but anyway, so I don't know.
But it's gonna happen.
I'm kind of in limbo now as to where this is going, and I'm just trying to find some new angles and do it.
It's gonna happen because it is too good. It is too colorful. It is too visual. It is too hilarious.
I want to say thank you.
I'm telling you.
Meanwhile, I'm doing book tours and just and singing where I can, but COVID has really put a damper on
that. COVID has kind of quashed us a bit.
Yes, but
we'll be back in
coming back now. Things are starting to come back.
Yeah, as I said the other day, I've been working above the mask. Hair products, skincare, eye makeup, concealer.
Yes.
Well, Shailah, I want to say thank you to all those producers and people who didn't wind up working with you, because that opens the door for me. to come in and take your project and do something with it, because I think between you and Patricia, I gotta find something for both of y'all to do.
By the way, I know. Hang on, Howard, love that. Thank you. I know I typed in Patricia, but I work under Pat Tracy.
Pat, okay.
So Pat is good.
Pat
Forget
Tracy.
the Patricia.
Okay, so Pat Tracy, when you see her on the streets, and when you see in the restaurant, she's Patricia.
Correct.
But when she's working, she's Pat Tracy.
Exactly. Well, the client started calling me Pat Tracy, and I thought, who am I to argue with what they want to call me?
I'm
glad they're calling.
Call me anything, just call me, right?
Right.
Exactly. As long as they call.
As long as it cashes, that's what you care about. So, that's I really enjoy talking to you guys and hearing these stories. Tell me a little bit about now what you think about where the fashion world is headed now, especially for Black women, and what do you think can come out if Ebony jumps back in and brings, because Ebony Fashion Fair was grand, it was a show, it was everybody knew about Ebony Fashion Fair in the magazine.
Well, it would be a wonderful showcase for Black women. And Black women have a movement and a style and an attitude. They bring more. And Ebony would allow that. So you don't have to be the little automatron just going down, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot.
That's what Ebony did. Because Black fashion shows now. You go see.
I tell you, I would get back into the business now if I could do the shows the way I get and bring my personality back into the shows. And even on the runway now, even though there's a big diverse group of models on the runway, there's still not older models on the runway. They have one
very few
that works, more
very few
seen regularly, but there could be. I would get back into it if I would be accepted for my size. I'm not a size 2 anymore, so.
But it's so much more diverse.
Now it's diverse, but they need to cross over and do the older models.
They do. Listen up, people.
Yes, I've seen every type of model except for the older model, so it's time.
It's time.
Well, we're going to have that conversation because in September for New York Fashion Week, Soul City will be doing a big fashion show. I'm not going to spill the beans yet on who the host is going to be, with somebody very big and famous. And we're going to do this big grand fashion show.
That'll be fabulous.
It's going to be in Harlem, and it's going to be out of this world. And I want the two of you to be involved in it. And we'll talk about it, how we can get the two of you involved in it. And Shailah, we got to get you back on that runway. Maybe we need to find some models and train some older models, or bring back some of the models who were doing before. And let's do a sexy, more mature fashion show.
Absolutely,
I think we can. So we'll definitely talk about that. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm here in Soul City is here. We have a lot of things going on. And a lot of access to, and I'm always looking to create something new, but also respect and appreciate the past and those who have done things, and figure out, fine, how did that work before, and how can we twist it and make it new now? And,
refresh, reset.
Yes.
If you guys were to give your opinion, your advice to young girls who are looking to be models or think they're model types, what would your advice be to them?
Shailah?
Okay. I would say it's the business has changed now. There are, when I was modeling, there was 30, 50 designers. Now there's not that big of a choice of a designer. So pickings are very slim as to how much work you can get. When I was at the top of my game, I was doing 18 to 22 shows a day. Today, that is not possible. It's impossible. There's not enough designers. There's too many models, and the shows are shorter, and there's just not enough work. So I would say be a little apprehensive when you come in. Don't expect too much in the beginning until you make a name for yourself. Work is limited, so you have to really work hard, get the pictures done, know the business, study the business, know what your measurements should be, your height and your weight, all your statistics should fit the model mold. Don't try to be something that you're really not made for, even though they're taking a much more diverse type of model now. You can believe as a model coach what some of the girls that came to me and wanted to model, and I told them point blank, it just wouldn't work.
Well, I always say, know thy market, know thy market. because you've got to know where you can fit in this business. Even though lots of people can do all the different categories, not everybody can. And sometimes you can be a great lifestyle model and do really well doing that.
Yes. You know,
or you can, you know, that's the commercials and so on.
Yes.
Or you can be a show model, or you can, you just have to know where you fit.
Exactly.
And go for it.
Exactly.
You know,
and people think, oh, it's just glamorous putting on makeup and beautiful clothes and beautiful hair.
It's not always that at all.
You got to study
half the time. You're going to be the girl next door. So figure it out.
Yes, absolutely.
And present that. Don't try to force feed the clients.
Exactly.
The clients know what they want. Well, they don't really know what they want.
Exactly.
But
they have an idea of what they want when you walk in the door, where you fit.
But if it's it's a more a cleaner, more American, as they call it, girl next door look.
Right.
That just, you know, calm down with the makeup and the hair and all the, you know, pizzazz. Just give them try to anticipate what they're looking for and present that. And don't give them something other than, you know, a study, for example. If you're going to see a client for a show or a commercial, know what the product is. Know the product that they're selling. Because at the end of the day, modeling is sales. You got to sell, because if you're not selling that product, they don't need you.
Exactly. You
got to
sell. Whatever you do, don't, you know, models feel like you got to be made up, and please don't wear those big Molly the Cow lashes. You know, so those do not work. Come in as natural as you can, you know, clean and natural as you can.
So they can see what they have to work with.
Then the client will give you those lashes if they want you to have them. Or
be clean, be polite.
I mean,
don't think you're all that, because guess what?
Exactly. You're
just
not.
Calm down.
Yes, and I can't believe this new generation, some of them are so rude and think they're
rude.
Oh my gosh, they really, so you can't come in with that attitude, because you know, unless you have the money to just, you know.
And you're there to learn. It's it's a skill. Modeling is a skill.
You're
not just the prettiest girl in the world and you're going to be there and so fabulous and do this and do that. No, you're not.
Exactly.
There are lots of other beautiful women, haven't you noticed? So be good at what you're trying to do. Be skilled. It's a skill. And know your light.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, the light. See, that's when you
know your light. How's my light?
Your light is
light up in a minute. I'm like,
mine is I look more paler than both of you.
I don't have on my glasses.
I still haven't learned that.
I don't know what I'm looking
I'm a showgirl. I don't know about light.
I'm going to ask you guys, and this has been fabulous for me. I've learned a lot, and I've had a lot of fun with you guys, and I love you guys' personality and the stories. I'm going to ask you 2 questions before we end. And one is your biggest regret in the modeling industry since you've been into it, your biggest regret. And then the other one is your wildest story. Your wildest story that you're not afraid to tell.
Okay. I would say my biggest regret would be not that I didn't know that I should learn and study before I got the opportunities. I could have done more and better had I been more versed in the skill. I did what they call on-the-job training. I learned on the job. But then again, you see, in those days, we didn't have the benefit of the videotape and things like that. Now, know what you're getting into, young ladies. Understand the business. Learn the skills.
Exactly.
So that would be a regret, but sort of a disadvantage that I was not. And my wildest story would be.
Here we go.
No, well, it's not so bad. In Tunisia, in the desert, shooting bathing suits for Madame magazine, a German magazine, and being given camel meat sandwiches for lunch that smelled like stale old leather, and we were horrified and being stuck in the desert and that type of thing. I wasn't kidnapped. I wasn't any that I say for my Africa stories. But
I am crying right now. Camel meat sandwiches.
Camel meat. And let me tell you, they don't kill the young. They don't kill the young tender camels for their meat. It's the old camels that nobody wants anymore. It was
we're in some ways when you need them.
Camel meat. I didn't eat it. We were starving. So,
Oh man,
but
hilarious.
I saw Tunisia.
I love it.
Oh man. Oh, so ladies, if you're a model, stay out of Tunisia and stay away from camel meat sandwiches. They're not
Camel meat. I'm sure it's not happening these days, but it was then.
hilarious. Oh man.
And Miss Shailah.
I actually don't have any regrets at this point because I was so lucky to be in the modeling business when I was, because when I first came in the business, I took 10 years off of my age. I told everybody I was 19 when I was actually 29.
Oh,
So,
wow.
And nobody blinked an eye. They didn't have internet.
Wow.
Then. So I got away with it. I didn't have to show my passport. And
it was Zora Neale Hurston who said you must take 10 years off because you can always calculate around 10.
Around it. Yes, exactly.
Good advice from a smart woman.
Yeah, and the one time that I did get caught, it was a big choreographer who was taking a group of models to Germany or somewhere, and he said, "Everybody turn in your passport so I can get your ticket." So I started immediately, I tell you, sometimes I immediately start taking out my nail polish and doing my nails and red nail polish. And
I can't touch my passport.
Just so happened the nail polish fell onto the passport on the birth date. Oh, right. So he was so upset. He says, I can't even see, we can't use this and blah, blah, blah. And I says, well, I guess I can't go there because I just had to protect myself. So, but somehow he managed it, and
Wait, Shailah, fun fact: we both have the same birthday.
Oh, that's right. We were
both born on April the 17th.
Oh my God, I forgot.
April 17th. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You're both Aries.
Yes.
Aries. Aries 8. 17 is the 8 number. That's the money number.
Oh.
I'm born April 20th.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
So you're more Taurus.
I'm actually Aries. I'm more Aries than I am Taurus and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
We got all this fire here going.
Yeah, so we gotta definitely do something. We're gonna call
we have to have an Aries party.
Now the most embarrassing point for me is that I really cannot say on television because it's really, I don't know what age group is going to see this, but if you
that's all adults. This is adult TV.
If you read the book and you go to when I was in the hotel in Rome, and you will see my most embarrassing time. And I tell you, everybody who reads the book calls me and laughing and screaming about what happened when I blew the lights out in the hotel.
So Shailah, how can people get your book?
I'm on, you can go through Amazon, Amazon.com, or you can order it through, if you want an autographed copy, you can go to my website, ShailahEdmonds.com, Wild Child Book, and you can order it direct from my website, and I'll autograph it for you. But Amazon is just as well. There's Kindle, and you can also get it on Kindle and Amazon.
Okay. So we're gonna actually, I'm gonna actually work on. We're gonna have a commercial for her book, and we'll be running her commercial consistently on television and everything, so you guys can know where to get the book at. And we're gonna actually we're gonna try and we're gonna work on putting a tour together, a nice matter of fact, I get both of y'all together, and we're gonna do a tour. We're gonna go somewhere and do a meet and greet with people.
Oh, that would be great.
And have some fun and tell these stories. And
you gotta hear it.
People do need to know. I mean, just doing my book talks, they've been going. When the book first came out, they went really well. They love hearing these stories. I mean, it's especially from.
But they're told in such an authentic voice that the voice of the book is exactly how Shailah talks, and it is, I tell you, hilarious. Wild Child of Couture Style, absolutely.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to let you know.
Thank you.
We're going to let you know where the first meet and greet with Shailah and Pat will be at, and it'll be free camel meat sandwiches for everybody. Camel meat sandwiches and white wine.
Have to have a little white wine to wash them down.
But ladies, I gotta really thank you guys. This is more enjoyable than I thought.
It's been such a pleasure.
I'm sorry we have to end and stuff, but I know you guys got other things to do, and I appreciate your time. But we're gonna do a part 2 of it for sure.
We're
gonna do a part 2 of this and talk more about some of those stories, and we can talk more about Ebony and what we can do with Ebony with the Fashion Fair, and and the magazine itself. Bring you guys back in the magazine, and you guys need to have columns in Ebony magazine. Hint, hint.
Yes,
right?
yes, thank you. Yeah.
You know, we need to
Great.
make things happen. So
Right.
we're gonna do this. I definitely appreciate you guys. I appreciate everybody for watching conversations with these beautiful Black models. And everybody just tune in to Soul City. We got some more stuff going on. But share this video. It's on social media. It's all over social media. It's on YouTube. Share it with your friends, and you can watch it on TV next week. It'll be on TV next week. So watch all over the country. But until then, I say goodbye. I say thank you again to Pat and to Shailah.
You're so welcome. Pleasure.
Disappear, and you guys enjoy the rest of your night.
It was wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.